Everyone, welcome back to the Ferrari Marketplace. I'm your host, William Ross, where we talk everything about Ferrari. Now, if you have listened to the Break Fix podcast a few episodes ago, we have the gentleman that I have on today, Mr. David Neyen from Motorcopia. We had an awesome chat with him. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge and what he can put together on a car or model, what have you, is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. So, brought David on today because we're doing a whole special thing here in regards to Mecum and the Ferrari 250 GTO that they are crossing the block Kissimmee auction there in January, which is the one and only white one to leave the factory, the Bianco Speciale chassis 3729 GT. So we have other podcast episodes that we did with Chris Mealy from Ferrari Prancing Horse of Nashville, and then also Sam Murtaugh from Mecum itself. We kind of got into it, and then as we talked, we were a lot of details, I think, in there that we can start really getting into, and David is the man that can kind of fill in a lot of these holes and answer that a lot of us were kind of popping up in our brains as you talk. Usually happens. Things just come to you because David is man in regards to digging up and getting details and information, like I said, on model specific or even specific cars. So, needless to say, David, welcome back. Appreciate.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Yes, this is fantastic. So, like I said, you are immediately the person we thought of to come to this because as we had our previous ones we listened to or did with the guys from Mecum and Chris Mealy, there's a lot of things that were kind of like we weren't sure about. We didn't want to say the wrong things, and trying to give more detail on it. So, and kind of helping work with Mecum here a little bit on this for this car and helping them out. We thought it'd probably be a good move here to let's maybe really get into some of the nuts and bolts with this. So, if you see me keep looking my other way, I'm looking at David's notes what he put together. He said he whipped together something really quick for us, and it's basically 6 pages of stuff. So, I'd hate to see what his thorough ones are because I tell you what, you probably have to get those everything like that as an actual book. So, but this is fantastic.
You'll need some coffee to get through them all.
Well, first, I mean, this had been fun. I mean, one of 36, the GTO is just a great car. I mean, it had been kind of pretty cool getting into it.
Absolutely. I mean, you might as well just dive right in on the deep end with this is the ultimate, I think, classic V12 Enzo era Ferrari ever of all, and they're all special, but these are the elite of the market. So it's really exciting to get into this. Yeah,
most definitely. I mean, it's and that's kind of one thing we could touch on first because talking about this, and that's always the discussion too. It's one of 36, or is it one of 39? Kind of go along. I mean, and Series 1, Series 2. What clarification is still out there? Because I know looking at this, because some Series 1s got rebodied and all that kind of stuff, then rebodied back. And so what'd you dig up on that kind of stuff?
Yes. What the numbers I'm working with are Marcel Massini. He kindly provided me with a list of Ferrari production numbers years ago. And he had access to the Ferrari factory records directly as part of his work and his knowledge base. Generally there's 36, not counting. I believe there were 2 prototype cars that were sort of they could be classified as GTOs as well. But between the number I'm seeing is 36 in all. But again, these cars were not meant to be. This is the beauty of researching these cars. They were track weapons. They were meant to win GT championships, World Manufacturers Championships, which they did 3 years running, 62, 63, 64. But there's always evolution, race to race, and so some of the later cars also showed some changes. And there's one early car, as you know, that I think they call it a 330 LM/250 GTO. So it just makes everything that much more interesting, as far as I'm concerned. I'm working with the 36 number though, but whether it's 36 or 39, as some people say, these are, I mean, the handcrafted aspect of these cars, that people were actually hammering bodies at Scaglietti Coachworks, using old school methods and panel beating and this, that, and the other thing. People were, there was nothing prefabricated at all.
No, Yeah, cigarette in one mouth, a glass of vino sitting on the work table next to him, and hammering away.
Artwork and no two exactly the same. I mean,
No, and I always thought it's funny because when you look at them and you look at one side of a car and then you go to the other side. I mean, gaps are different, everything, and they even said it. Some doors are shorter than others, some are longer. I mean, it's just it's very minute, but
oh yeah,
once you start looking at it, but yeah, I mean, that's what you come up with though when stuff's like handmade like that. I mean, it's not gonna. You're not working with CNC machines, getting right down to scribing and stuff like that. So it
no,
makes
it's
it
a
that much more
magical.
unique. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was a magical time. I mean, it just gives these cars that much more individual character and flavor. And this one's got it in spades, well beyond, the special white color, which was a rarity. I think it's the only one of its kind, or
Yeah.
the only car produced in white. And
Yeah.
I think it's just that much cooler.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, when our previous one we did with Chris Mealy from Prancing Horse, he actually had like the build from the factory where the order sheet was, and it was ordered in that Bianco Speciale. I know our producer Eric wanted to throw in some stuff in there saying we painted it, but no, he has it on there in regards to it came from there. But I mean that's what you go by for that. So that why it was white, that was kind of the one thing we were trying to figure out. I know that was one of Coombs's racing colors was the. I mean, it's not like bright white, but he had a special white that he used on there for his cars, and I think he had a gray or some other color that he also utilized on his stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're getting 1 to 36. I mean, so it's only 36 cars are built. So I mean, right there alone is rarity. But then you only got the only one that ever left the factory in white. I mean, it's unbelievable. But
Absolutely.
it always amazes me though, because you go back, back mid '70s, and you have this car. I mean, if someone's got a crystal ball can see the future, I mean, everyone would be a billionaire, right? But back then, it was an old race car like that. They didn't care. So one of the owners, he had that thing painted red. It's like that's what you would think, Ferrari red. So he did it because no one thought in mind, hey, you know what, factory color, everything like that, adds value.
Oh yeah.
And, luckily Jon Shirley was wise enough to get it painted back to the white, and I think he had to be convinced to paint it back to white, and everyone's like, it's only one. So thank God he did, because I think it looks spectacular in white.
Well, it's a standout, and a mutual friend of ours, we were on the phone last evening about it, and she said, I also love that it's wearing number 10 because it's a perfect 10. And so,
yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's
so there's a little bit of I don't know how, and it's back to like that's the Graham Hill 1962 Goodwood Tourist Trophy number on it.
Yeah.
So it's just it's come kind of a full circle kind of a deal. The other thing about John Coombs, who purchased the car, being a Jaguar dealer in the UK, apparently he did. I read some conjecture, something. There's a couple of accounts. There's a really great article covering this car exhaustively, but for one or two details, and sort of in the just as the internet's emerging, but it was in one of my back issues I've got of Cavallino from 2001. And it might have been covered in there or in a book published in 1982, a really, really good reference book on GTOs called the GTO Super Profile. And that either of those two sources, I'll have to go back and confirm that. But apparently Coombs he purchased the Ferrari because he was trying to convince Jaguar to get off their rear ends and make a lightweight E-Type to be more competitive in GT racing. So, it's a magical time when this car was built and born and starting to be raced exclusively in Britain and period, because you had Jaguar going toe to toe with Aston Martin, which, had an amazing racing record too. And Ferrari, and it was just like an arms race. Each one is just outdoing the other one, a more powerful car, a lighter car, a more aerodynamic car, with each of their succeeding models. So that's to me, that's one of the golden eras of GT class racing.
Well, most definitely. And Coombs never confirmed it in several, articles and everything and trying to get on, but he would never confirm denied it. But it was always a well-known fact that he actually loaned the car to Jaguar to kind of do some reverse engineering on it to get that lightweight to try and match it. And it still couldn't get there, but they got close. But I always thought that was kind of cool too. With this car, hey, you borrow it for a little bit and see what you can, get in there and scrutinize. And I thought that was always kind of humorous as well, because it's just like, I mean, why not? And I mean, he was a huge Jaguar guy, but he wanted to win, and that's the car that.
And the manufacturers all went all out then. Nowadays, I mean, you can't do certain modifications to some of these cars, especially Ferraris, without getting a legal letter. So it's, it's kind of it's those kind of back room stories about, certain usages of cars when they were new is absolutely fantastic. And, it made Ferrari, made Jaguar tried up its game too. And even though they probably arguably had better resources than Ferrari did actually at the time.
I would think, yeah,
to be able to do that. I mean, they were concentrating on road cars, and the racing was sort of promoting the road cars. Vice versa, Ferrari was more interested in racing, and paid the financial price for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get about it knowing now. That's when his finances. I mean, they were always on a precipitous, of failing, but things were tight. But he kept, and racing was in his blood. But I mean, it was incredible. He was able to pull out of that factory and have these guys build. I mean, because it's just crazy. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's one of the more kind of interesting eras in Ferrari lore. When this car was built and raced, when the GTO was most competitive, because Ferrari was going through so many changes at the time, and then they had just had the Palace Revolt, they called it, with, I believe it was the sort of they had a real brain drain out of Ferrari at
massive.
that moment.
Wow.
And but it took some time to show itself, manifest fully what the results of that. But nonetheless, I mean, they were really kicking the competition in this period.
Oh, definitely. And the other, about this one, and we're trying to figure out. And I did a lot of digging, and I'm not sure. Maybe you dug up, maybe got, some sort of, I guess, maybe answer on it, because there was only 8 right-hand drives built, and the consensus always is back then. They did the right-hand drive, because of Le Mans, because it was quicker to change drivers and stuff. And my thought was, Coombs ordered this car from them, him being British. No, I want right-hand drive. Were you able to maybe dig anything up saying why it was right-hand drive?
I think it's a combination of both. I wish I had something saying, a note to the factory or something, on an order form kind of idea, because I love making sure I have documents or something to point to that's reliable. But I think it's a combination of both. I think the initial driver roster that had that car, except Richie Ginther from the States, that in '64, I believe, when he co-drove that car. So they're all British. So the right-hand drive, and then, like you said, with Le Mans, that's probably even more of a good reason why the right-hand drive.
And name drop Ginther is a great segue into the next portion here. Is there were some very, very famous drivers that wheeled this car, either by themselves or, obviously 2 drivers. Because back then at Le Mans, there's only 2 drivers. You couldn't have more than 2. So, but there was a who's who in regards to people that drove this car.
Absolutely. You've got Roy Salvadori, 59 Le Mans 24-hour winner, co-driving with Shelby. I mean, that's that's a
loan. In itself, that's incredible.
That's just one, right? And then you've got Graham Hill, went on to be the 1962 and 68 Formula One world champion, Indy 500 champion in 1966. He won Le Mans with driving a Matra in '72.
That's a story in itself.
yeah. And then at the end of his life, just a couple of years later, sadly, in a plane wreck, he had his own Formula One team. And I think that it would have been exciting to see what that man could have done had he been able to go on further.
Oh, I agree.
You've got Mike Parks. I mean, he ended up, he was a Ferrari development and engineering driver, an engineer. Apparently, after he had an F1, a really bad F1 crash in 67, I believe, Enzo Ferrari, once Mike was better, he wanted to go back to competitive F1 driving, and Enzo Ferrari apparently said, "No, you're more valuable to me as an engineer if that story holds." Um,
Interesting.
he was the first to go exceed 300 kilometers an hour on the Mulsanne with a Ferrari 330 LMB later. Stuff like that. I mean, who's who of the cool thing is this set of drivers. I mean, it's just when the point in time when the gentleman driver was becoming the professional driver. And
Yeah.
now we have super athletes. I mean, these were real guys that were, had real, it was just, they were real people. And,
Yeah. Well, especially back then, you know, nowadays you just got guys, hey, they only do F1, they only do, they really
yeah,
don't jump around. But these guys, they weren't getting paid all this money. They were getting it from start money, prize money. So they raised whatever they could get their butt into so they could make a living.
a lot of these guys drove in non-championship points races too. And sadly, a lot of great drivers, their careers ended in some of those events, and they just wanted to, they were really committed to what they were doing. And
Oh God. Well, I mean, that's what drove all these guys, the British and the Indy, was the money. It's 200 grand or something that the winner
yeah,
got. I mean, I know it was for that time. I mean, it was a lot of money. And I remember Jim Clark made this time. He goes, I don't make that in a year racing all this stuff. I can do it in one race. I mean,
yeah.
heck yeah, they're going to come over and do that. I
Well,
mean,
back then that was
yeah,
generational wealth creation. I mean,
oh
winning
God, yeah.
if you and your career. I mean, what that did when that was actually a driving champion, like a championship points race internationally at the time too. I mean, that was big stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
God, yeah.
yeah. This car. There's even a driver I didn't know, Michael Salmon. He was or Solomon. I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, but I looked him up, and he had a 20-year frontline racing career. He did I think virtually everything. I think he
Really?
got into sports cars in Le Mans later in his career, but it was 20 years straight.
Hmm. I
It's
know that was a new name I saw, and they're like, oh, that's interesting.
it just again adds to the cool factor of what you imagine back then though, early to mid 60s. You got all the top international drivers. Many of them were British. A lot of the top points events were British. Then you morph into the Beatles, the British invasion, and then I mean, this the cool factor to me just kind of goes up from there.
Yeah, I mean, geez, that's one of the instances where it's like, man, I wish I was born later and be part of that. Could you, man? I mean, just, yeah, I've been crazy. So, but expanding on, talking about okay, being one of the only white ones, and this is one of only 8 right-hand drives. The other interesting story with this car too is the engine.
That's right.
And so the motor got replaced. It comes in spare. But what were you able to dig up in regards to what the motors comes? Because this comes with 2 engines, but it's got a really cool engine that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And again, a neat part of racing lore. This GTO's factory V12 was removed. I believe it was in 64, 65. It was after the last time it was raced in the TT at Goodwood in Britain. And then there was a bit of a trend to Grand Prix cars at the time, whereby they were moving away from, they were heavier. This Ferrari engine was lighter and reliable and race proven. So it went into a Cooper Grand Prix car for 1965. And there were rule changes with Formula One at the time, and some teams weren't able to deal with, I guess, the restrictions or the new changes to the rules that year. So what they would do is they take a sports car engine or a sports racing car or a GT class engine, It'd be lighter and again race proven, and they drop it into their F1 car, and it would be make it more lightweight and still keep an older chassis competitive again. So this one went into a Grand Prix car, and that was profiled. They missed it in Cavallino. But again, that's early stages for the internet. The internet makes everything a lot easier in my business, to look things up and try to find, so there's no shade to anybody there. But there's this wonderful book I mentioned earlier. It's called the Ferrari 250 GTO Super Profile by Chris Harvey. It was published in 1982 for Haynes, that does the maintenance manuals for a whole lot of cars. I find that actually that publisher in that series to be super high quality, and it describes by name, whose F1 car got the engine. I'd like to know where it went and try and find that. But now, so there's a good, kind of a cool Formula One Grand Prix crossover between British GT racing and British Formula One competitors. Apparently, this car was raced in the British Grand Prix in '65 with the original V12 from this car, from our GTO that we're looking at. And I think they ran around 10th or 11th kind of a thing against factory teams. So I think, it's pretty cool that privateers. And that's actually
respectable.
Yeah. And the other thing is like the GTO itself. I mean, that was mainly campaigned by privateers. I believe there was only one 250 GTO that Ferrari actually raced under the Ferrari CFAC banner of its racing team. So these were out in the wild with privateers, and they really, they did the yeoman's work of getting the manufacturers championships for Ferrari 62 to 64. Absolutely. So it's a great chapter in their history.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I wasn't, that's a neat little note, so to speak, in regards to that motor getting dropped into an F1 car.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows the versatility of that, to your point, and be able to utilize it like that.
Yeah, they could go for distance and hold together despite being, highly tuned and exotic and everything. So that shows the quality of the adaptability, like you said, of the Ferrari V12. Just kind of startling it was kind of startling to me, actually, to learn of this sort of trend. It's kind of like American sports racing cars in the 60s or sports racing cars in the 60s, and they drop American V8s. And as the chassis became a little less competitive, maybe a little heavier than the competition, but the addition of some cubic inches or some horsepower would, or some lightness, as Colin Chapman used to say, add lightness one way or the other, you might be able to move the Venn diagram to a nice sweet spot and keep going a little longer.
Yeah, no replacement for displacement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's a great to me. The other notable thing about this GTO, as you know, and a lot of other people that study them or trade in them, is the fact that it was never wrecked. I mean, there was a shunt in a race, but it just damaged front body work, and they were able to probably pound it back into place and make it pretty again. But again, nobody was expecting these cars to be the art market valued cars that they are now.
That's a great statement. Yeah, I mean, that's basically that's what that has become. Value wise with that car. And the other interesting fact, and we were talking about this in that other episode with the guys with Chris Mealy and Murtaugh, was and I think it's, to me, I think it just, I want to say enhances value, but I don't think it really is a detriment. But Ferrari cast a brand new block, stamped it correct. I mean, they made it just how it was back then. I mean, it's a new block for that car. It wasn't like they used new materials or anything like that. I mean, it's period correct. And to me, I think, in my mind, it enhances it. I mean, you have a new motor that was made by the manufacturer for that car.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of companies that are auto manufacturers that are coming around to the idea of that their heritage is priceless and needs to be not only preserved but honored and promoted. And I think Ferrari to me, and in my time in this business, in the auction business, I'd have to say Ferrari is probably the company that takes their heritage most seriously. And so it's really, really amazing the support that they'll give, and obviously it's a two-way street, but them overseeing the casting of a new engine that's to the absolute correct spec and stamping it and everything is fabulous, I think.
You know, I don't know if they had the foresight to think of it, but they have every car they ever made, records, casting, just from every car that left that factory, they have documentation on it to be able to go back and either make a new part or anything like that. Their historical archives is unbelievable. But it's so I don't know if it was someone had the foresight, hey, we got to keep this all in order, because like Lamborghini didn't give two shits about it, for the longest time. And then I don't know about any other manufacturers, but Ferrari had the wherewithal in their mind saying, we need to preserve this stuff for these cars, which was fantastic.
You're absolutely right. And if it makes me absolutely bonkers when, because I have to be research heavy. I use a lot of really good print sources. I've built that up here. Filing is another issue, but I know where to look. The weird thing is I know where to find everything.
Yeah, exactly. I know where it's at.
Oh yeah. But I can't tell anybody else. I have to go and physically look at it. But anyway, that's a work in progress. But which needs done. But the other thing is, it's amazing the value of that kind of documentation. So quick sidebar, when it was a couple of years ago, the Vector. Do you remember the American supercar Vector?
Yep.
And I followed that in high school, college, university, and I was really hoping they were going to do it, and really, really make great things happen. And then I guess there was the founder passed away, the plant or the facility where the last bits of everything were kept, and there was piles and piles and piles of factory documents about what they were doing, engineering drawings, the whole 9 yards of documentation. And I believe they were lost. I believe that none of that exists anymore. I forget what the actual physical cause was, but sadly that's all gone. And now that whole chapter of history is gone because he was doing, Jerry Weigert, I believe was his name. He was trying to do what John DeLorean had tried to do, what other people have done. And they actually got to that level where they were building cars, and now that's all gone. And I think it's really tragic. So I just hope there's a renaissance and appreciation everywhere for actual physical documentation. And,
there's no reason not to. That's absolutely the thing. There's no reason not to.
There is so much to be gained from learning what's in Ferrari's files. People like I said, Marcel Massini, who went through the actual production records, and he's there on site looking through everything years ago. I really appreciate what Alfa Romeo and Maserati, you can get copies of their documents. They seem to really be taking their heritage seriously. But nobody ever expected these cars that would be a topic of or cause so much economic activity or so much passion in people and owners. The late friend of mine, Christopher Renwick, he was one of the pioneers of our business, and he at one time he had purchased and sold 3 and possibly up to 6 250 GTOs at one time. For about $6,500 to $10,000. Late 60s, very late 60s, early 70s. He had a partner, a bankrolling him. It was John Cowley, a Hollywood studio executive, and they were buying and selling these used up old race cars. And Christopher saw the value, and when no one else really did. I think there's an ad for a $14,000 asking price for a GTO in 1963, and it was the class winner at Daytona. I think one of the Rodriguez brothers drove it for an heir to the Reynolds tobacco fortune. So, and there's an ad, $14,000 was the asking price from a Buick dealer in California.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's what I mean. A little over 100 grand in today's dollars, inflation,
yeah,
right? But I mean, which is not cheap. But considering what it is, I mean, that's still. I mean, again, having that crystal ball, know what
oh
where it was
yeah,
going. That's just
2020
like,
crystal
oh my,
ball, absolutely.
yeah. you know, and those of you who don't know who Marcel Massini is, he is the guru on Ferrari. I mean, he's that guy. I mean, he's incredible in regards to knowledge, just what he's able to do and just be able to accurately describe. And, if you want your Ferrari legitimized, yes, the Red Bull Class Sheets is probably number one, but then having that Marcel Massini report is probably like 1A, because I mean, he's just that well respected and his knowledge is just incredible.
He's
So
probably
if you
laid
didn't know who he
eyes on
was,
so many of them. I actually, there's times where he's also very gracious. There's been times where I had a question, a very detailed, pointed question about a certain classic Ferrari, and I could just call him up. He'd say, "I'm at an auction right now, David, but I can tell you off the top of my head that you're correct." Or
yeah, exactly. I
his
mean,
knowledge
he
is
just retained. Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. And being able
unbelievable.
to connect the dots like that and access, the actual provenance of something, the actual documentation is amazing. So yeah, there's a lot of that's the other thing, a lot of great people in this business that I've been able to interact with and get to know. And that makes it a lot of fun too.
Yeah, and what's great is because you meet these people and become friendships. They get
That's
created. I
right.
mean, not just because you share the same passion, but you're just great people. I mean,
Absolutely right.
it's just great people. So now, going forward here with our conversation, because the one big thing that we wanted to avoid and we didn't get into it because I just didn't want to start touching it because God only knows what this thing's going to cross the block and sell for. Because I mean, it could
That's
be
right.
anywhere, and it's got all the rarity going for it, even more rarity in regard for right-hand drive and the only one in white, everything like that. But to your point you mentioned before, these don't come across the block in a public auction very often. I mean,
Not at
in
all.
the past, was it 10 years? There's only been three, I think it is.
That's exactly right. Yeah. 2014 to 2023. There's three of them that came to public auction, two of them from RM. The first one was in 2014, and that was well, actually, my friend Christopher, he's been on record as having tried to actually engineer a purchase of that for somebody, and I was talking to him at that time. And so it's kind of an interesting story, but there's more of them than I should be getting into right now. But there's so many, we need a couple of days. But
Yeah.
that one was, that was the first, as I've listed here, the first major modern era GTO sale at public auction, and apparently it brought 38 and a bit million. I'm assuming that's with buyer premium, but which could be 10 or more percent on top.
Yeah,
Involved
that's
in
what
that too.
buyer. Yeah, those are buyer. Yeah, with it in
Yeah,
there. Because I know because the last one, 2023, that's including the premium. So, but I mean, yeah,
yeah,
it's not cheap.
yeah.
Is that the one of 2014? Is that the one that the person was killed in it? The French driver?
I believe so. And in
Yeah.
fact, I've got its history printed up. There was a major accident, I believe.
Well,
So finding one that's never been wrecked. I mean, these are track weapons,
yeah.
all out, and I mean, I don't even think I see a roll cage in pictures of this car back in the day. Like
No.
those guys, I mean, they might have moved past polo helmets by then, and aviators goggles,
Yeah.
maybe. Like, safety was like questionable, if that, and if it added weight, probably not in present. I believe there was something to do with that first one. But even at that, a real GTO with provenance, amazing amount of money. And since 2014, I mean, I'd probably suggest that major currencies have probably deflated by close to 20%, looking at
Yeah.
deflation or inflation calculators. So, 2014 versus now, I think you'd see that one take a bit of a bump up in value in today's terms. And then the two RM cars. I mean, that was heavy expectations, but 5 years apart, and say when they sold, and about 3 million, give or take, dollars difference. So there's some stability, but it's they're again few and far between, as everybody knows. But you can still get some meaningful expectations. Just again, there's quite a considerable uplift in value. Again, the better the history, the more long-term previous ownership is present. Correctness or restoration or lack thereof, there's that can certainly add to value as well. So definitely, it's going out on a limb somewhat. Definitely to try and pull out some kind of an idea of what to expect on this one.
Yeah.
Then we also have the private sale of, is it 40?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the chassis number. It's it's a 4153 GT.
Yeah, for McNeil's little 70 million purchase in 2018. Yeah, I mean that's and that kind of just goes to show you though in regards to provenance history, that's another one that it might have had a ding here and there on the fender stuff, but that was another one that wasn't wrecked. Tour de France winner. I mean, excellent history. I mean, that was like that's when you go out and say which one should I get, that's the one out of all the GTOs that was in. Hence, that's why it brought the premium, and he wanted the car.
Yeah,
you're going to pay up for it. That's the one thing is, so, it's that attitude you're getting, especially like if it's in a, public setting, if you got two people in the room, you're going to have fireworks if they both want the car. That's what's going to kind of get it going, up there. But I mean, that was just, hey, negotiation going. He wanted the car, but I mean, that's a nice car. I mean,
and what a calling card, or what a kind of a trophy, because being in the business he's in, doing the thing, being in motorsports with affiliated with Laguna Seca and all that, and heavy sponsorship of motorsports. I mean, that's putting your wallet where your mouth is, right there. That is walking it like you talk it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd be, obviously he's got kids and stuff like that. So, but I think that's going to be another long-term family ownership vehicle there as well, because his kid raced, was it David? I mean, he's an excellent wheelman, going to it. And they got an unbelievable collection of cars as well, especially Ferrari specifically, and to your point, mentioned about long-term ownership, this car itself, basically in the past 40 years has had two owners.
Yeah.
Jack Sears and Jon Shirley. That's it.
And Jack Sears drove the car back in the early 60s. That's the great thing about this. And then he's reunited with it again when Neil Coroner owned it in the late 60s. Takes it, he's invited up to Coroner's, is given a test drive in it, and then said, I'd really like right of first refusal. And then ended up buying the car and owning it all those years. So 1970 to 99, I believe, something like that.
Yep.
And that's wonderful. That's a wonderful full circle kind of thing, as far as I'm concerned. And Jack Sears, I'm sure the name rings bells with a lot of people, but he was an interesting character because he drove the 427 Galaxy, I believe in one of the Tourist Trophy events at Goodwood, and scared probably probably frightened everybody. Yeah, he was. I think probably everybody in on the track would move out of his way as he's drifting around with this NASCAR Galaxy basically, and he had the strength to be able to handle that car on the track like that. I mean I always find that, and to my British friends, please don't take offense, but I'd love to sit down with you over a pint and just discuss the idea of rowdy American V8 cars racing on your tracks and just kind of rattling everybody's cage. But anyway, he drove the 427 Galaxy. I think there's a whole bunch of other, a lot of lore around, I believe.
That's what Gurney drove too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just an amazing. So anyway, that I always love seeing. I think it's Tom Christensen, the Le Mans champ, that drives it at Goodwood nowadays.
Yes, yeah.
Or a car like it. I don't know if it's the exact one or not, but I always just get such a kick out of that. But
it's because it stands out. Not only you hear it, but I mean, it's just you have that big hulking beast of metal going around. Then you got these little Jags and stuff like that. And so I mean, this thing that's a great story right there. Yeah, I mean being in the stands or just, I mean, obviously you're gonna hear that thing go around the track the whole way, but that just had to been such a sight for spectators alone, not just
Oh
the
yeah.
guys on the track.
It's that I'm sure that really got a lot of people excited when they saw it in Sears driving that back in the day. But yeah, so the great, yeah, I mean, for him to be able to purchase the car that he actually raced competitively in the early '60s in frontline service, I mean that's huge. And then he held on. He had the car till I believe '99,
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
around 99, 2000, something like that. And so I mean, long-term ownership, obviously, love of the car. I mean, when you buy a GTO, I mean, you're probably going to rub elbows with people like Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, if you like Floyd, as I do. The
Yeah.
fact
Oh,
that
yeah.
he's
Yeah.
a skilled vintage racer and a GT owner since the '70s. I mean, that'd be kind of a really cool moment to get
Yeah.
to meet him
Well, as
in that setting.
I mentioned in the other episode we did, I just love it. The fact that he used that as collateral to finance their tour in whatever it was 86, 87. He put that up as collateral so they could get the money to be able to go out and tour to do the reunion thing, whatever. So I
You've
always
got
thought
to
that
be
was humorous.
kidding! I had no
Oh, you didn't
idea.
know that? Yeah,
Holy
it's a great
cow!
story.
So that's in my opinion, early high end asset finance. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. No one's like, what? He's like, yeah, and they wanted to go out there, and it came back in spades what they made on the tour. But yeah, that's how they financed. And I think it was, it was like a couple $1,000,000 or $1,000,000 they got and used that as collateral. So I always love that story because it just shows you
Holy
right
cow!
there. To your point, all of a sudden you have an asset that is getting viewed at in the banking world in the 80s and saying, hey, that's an asset. It's not just a toy. And because now you have it where collections, everything like that is commonplace. But back then it was not very
Yeah.
well,
That was a
I
little
guess
bit
perceived.
revolutionary, I think, then with a high-end art type. I think they
Yeah.
were considered to be kind of art at that point already. But the other thing is, to your point about Mason and the tour, something like, I mean, it's obvious to family offices and high-end collectors and high net worth people everywhere worldwide already. But you buy something like this, I mean, that's an asset that's even if it doesn't appreciate in value, just blue sky here. You've got a massive long-term asset that probably will see you through any economic
Yeah.
tailwinds.
Yeah.
And anybody would any collateral lender would probably put up a good chunk of money if you ever should need it.
Oh God. Oh yeah, because they're drooling. God fails. I'm going to get my hands on that car.
Oh, I'd love to have a fractional ownership share in something like this. Although I think the price of
Yeah.
entry would be pretty high.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Now,
there's that whole side.
yeah. Now the cool thing I love about and what you do, and there's going to be a link in the description. You guys got to check out David's site because he really breaks down that into regards about like get into it about what you have on this one, but kind of explain going through how you take a car and what you do with in regards to like collectability, rarity, ranges and whatnot. Because you really break this down as some very, very meaty, substantial dollars and cents and information.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to get very granular with what I'm doing, where someone can actually like take a report or that I generate and actually take action if they want to get into the market. And there's so many sweet spots in the market where there's opportunities for people to buy something to enjoy and see it appreciate. There's others that are, okay, these are hardcore collector cars that have to be housed in specific conditions, climate control and security and this, that, and the other thing, something like a GTO. But there's so many vehicles in between. So I try to help people with the idea of what the car's worth, what an appropriate value range is, okay, and whether or not it's a buy, sell, or a hold. Kind of like, when you look at channels, financial channels like CNBC or whatever, and they're analyzing a stock in a company. So I took that approach because I used to work in banking well, about a good decade. And there's a lot of things that I learned during that time. I also learned that my true calling is to work in the collector car auction market. But, so that was probably the biggest lesson, because most conversations, especially with younger males, was, hey, Dave, can you help me buy this vehicle? Or, and if I couldn't help them with what they were looking for right away, I could guide the conversation, say, look, you can buy this much of a vehicle. I can lend you this much, or and groom you, get you to a point. If you work with me, I can help you get to that next level that you want. So usually the guys coming in wanting certain vehicles would come see me. So that was, and at the time the tuner craze was kind of big. So there were a lot of young folks that with Japanese performance cars, and they wanted to make them nice, but I had to help them find ways creatively to get the money to do it. And so we usually could do it. But anyway, I try to apply some of those kind of methods to what I'm doing today with Motorcopia. So and basically I'm looking at, comparables just like an appraiser would. But they have to be, and then adjusting for how comparable they are to the car we're considering. I've come up with an idea, though, numerous of them. I back in the spring, I had a terrible cold. It was debilitating. I finished one writing project for an auction customer, handed my invoice in, and basically just fell down and went to bed for half the day for the next month, while I was trying to get over this cold. And I was thinking, what can I do that would add value in my market, but be something that's unique, something that not everybody else is doing all the time. And I thought, well, so I started building these models that would help me to assign scores to vehicles, specific vehicles, or groups of vehicles, if they're fairly common. And so I'm looking at their market trend. Are they is there a good volume of them selling, being offered and being sold? Are they actually selling within a reasonable period of time, or are they just sitting on companies' websites, or are they being passed with reserve not met at auction kind of thing? So I'm looking at sort of the sales trend. Is it growing? Is it quick? Is there velocity and quickness in their sales? Obviously, rarity is massive. So in this case, with the GTO, I mean, as far as the trend, blue chip assets, especially art, where there's a crossover between cars like the GTO and art, are those kind of blue chip assets that high net worth people or ultra high net worth people are collecting. Those are stable right now. What we're seeing. The ultra high net worth buying market is still there. Nobody's panicking. Nobody's running, or people are still continuing to buy things like GTOs. Rarity is off the chart with this car, so I gave that a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's the only one in white, from new. And, as I understand it too, it's not significantly restored. I would have to leave it to a car specialist with Mecum to tell me or not, or a Ferrari expert to tell me. The interior is apparently not restored, and I hope I'm not sticking my foot in my mouth on that. But this car has a lot of integrity, is what I'm trying to say. It's been refinished and back to its early 60s colors and racing livery. But so we gave it a 10. Cultural significance is something I look at as well. I had in like the late 60s, early 70s, I had a Matchbox 250 GTO. I mean, it's burned in my brain. And most car aficionados, the car is just totally recognizable and people are aware of it. So it's almost a 10 out of 10. It's 9.5 out of 10 on cultural significance. Cost or accessibility, I gave it a 3 because only the most wealthy people can buy it. And that's just a function of rarity, provenance, and desirability. And this is ultra desirable and ultra rare at the same time. So demographics, there's a lot of Gen X buyers now that have become wealthy or are becoming wealthy. They're innovating, and they're in the market. And there could be somebody with new money that nobody's heard of before, or nobody expects, that could just kind of come right up in the bidding process. Market activity, I gave it a 6. The supply is limited, as you know, but demand is steady at the top end. So, I mean, I think that the market is very robust for this type of car. And there's not you don't have to do any explaining about this car. That's the other thing about it. It is, the history is rich, the history is interesting, and it's good history. There's no stories. It looks like it's, been very well documented through the years, and having had 2 owners since 1970, though, that helps as well.
Oh, definitely.
And people that are qualified to own it and enjoy it and keep it. It's been vintage raced a little bit with the spare engine, as I understand it, under Jon Shirley. They've taken it on tours they've gone to 250 GTO reunions in France. Fabulous. Just, I mean, I would have to do that if I had a car like this. That's just, I don't,
yeah, it's a must.
You have to do it. Yeah, and then be with all the other people that own these cars. I mean, imagine that kind of a experience. So, with a weighted average, it's a 7.4 out of 10, and which might not sound great, 74% kind of thing, but in how I score things, that's solidly bullish, and it's fit for selective buying by qualified collectors. So, the next thing would be high conviction bullish, 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. And that'd be like fire, I've got to get it right now, start the car. We're getting it, whereas this one is, it's definitely bullish. It's solidly bullish in my interpretation ranges. And there is a market for it. And so it's a solid, in my situation here, what I'm looking at, it's a solid sweet spot to acquire an investment grade Legend.
Yeah, and side note on the interior, and we were discussing this before too, and we don't know why, but Ferrari GTOs commonly have that blue interior.
That's right.
And that car was from the factory, had that in there, but like within 2 weeks, maybe 3, of Coombs taking delivery of the car, he changed it to black. We don't know why. We don't know. It has something to do with whoever was driving, whatnot. We don't know. But he changed it to black like immediately after he got maybe he didn't like blue. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always interesting too on that car. Is majority of them all have that blue interior. I mean, it's like a staple.
That's right. There's another one. I guess the Ferrari factory changed the upholstery to black. Black leatherette on another car, another GTO. It's the one that it's the one that's up in I believe in New Jersey or New York. And actually his name is McNeil as well, but no relation. And he's owned that car since 1967. And apparently, according to him, in a Forza article, when the car was being sold via the Ferrari factory subsequent to it being new, they changed the upholstery to black. So they all have their little nuances, their own little stories. I mean, I'd love to just sit inside this car and just kind of meditate a little bit and just see if I can soak up some of the aura.
Oh God! Oh yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I mean, that's just is that transcendent.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, just moment you're sitting there, because you start soaking in everything, and then you start realizing like who's sat behind the wheel of this car, and who's been, just like all that, just story, history, everything like that, and
that's what makes this what we do. That's what makes what we do really fun.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to non-automotive people that get that, but us that are the maniacs that love this with the passion. I mean, it's like you get it. It's just one of those things. And
if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't. I mean, now, like case in point, my wife, God bless her, we've been together 31 years. When at first he'd say, "Oh yeah, honey, yeah, it's a car," and now it's like I can say 250 GTO, 250 LM, used to be a Mopar would be a Hemi-Cuda Charger to her, and now it's, oh well, she gets it, and she totally, because the history is so rich, and she comes from an art history background, so and museum background, so she totally gets it.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
provenance is everything.
yeah, yeah.
And this, again, these cars and this one in particular, it's I can't say it enough. It's so rich. I spent a few days actually reviewing articles, entries in books, chassis number books, things like that, just to just to really get my grips on this car. And it's not hard to comprehend at all. It's all there, and you just kind of go between who's documented what. And but this car is documented all the way down the line, and the photographs that are out there from back in the day of this car at Goodwood and in various races. I mean, to understand how hard these cars were driven. Apparently, they were really good if they were drifted on a track that had lots of curves. So seeing these guys, like we said earlier, no roll cage. They had seat belts, but helmets I think were not quite standardized quite yet in terms of specification. And these guys, they're drifting and they're going all out. And it's a time. Well, in some ways, rightly, because things progress naturally and things have to be safer. But I mean, these people lived. I mean, I have a hard time describing sort of the mindset I get when I see a car like this. It's, again, hand built, then, designed by like people who were inventing racing technology as they went.
Yeah, the legends. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I believe Giotto Bizzarini, I may be pronouncing that wrong, or it's Bizzarini. I believe he was sort of the engineer at Ferrari that really spearheaded taking advantage of the GT class rules and developing a car that was ever more specialized for the rules. Ferrari did that like no other manufacturer, as far as I'm concerned, back in the day. And the way that racing technology then primarily was what this car was about, but it was purely a GT car, so you could slap plates on. They were raced with number registration tags on them, and if you wanted to throw a couple bags in the regulation trunk compartment and go drive across the Alps or something. I mean, these were James Bond kind of people.
Oh God, yeah. Well, it's funny with the GTO itself too, because technically it's an evolution of the 250 SWB, and that's
right.
how he was getting it to get through the regulations, and them saying, no, it's not a brand new car. No, it's actually just this car. We just tweaked it a bit, and it was a brand new car, but he had the pull, and it was Enzo, and they're like, okay, we see that. While everyone else like, that's a brand new car. Like, no, it's still just an evolution. And that was always kind of humorous too, as well. With that, because it's an evolution. It's like, it's a brand new car.
Exactly. And you know what? And in that class of racing, to not have Ferrari competing at the top level would have been a loss.
Oh yeah.
Everything. To the whole idea of it. I mean, imagine being in the stands at one of the races this car was at in Britain back in the day, and watch, again, Ferrari, Jaguar, Aston, battling, and again, this to a lesser extent, it was win on Sunday, sell on Monday, but I suppose perhaps for Ferrari, road cars were becoming more important. Road cars were being seen, taken more road car production was being taken more seriously. But, Aston and Jaguar, I mean, they were about selling cars. And, so I just, it would have been really thrilling to see them. I mean, it'd be thrilling to see one of these cars in action anytime going through the gears. But back in the day, that would have been just like off the hook. So,
oh God, yeah. I mean, YouTube's great and watching old stuff, but it's not replacing actually being there. I mean, that's just, it's it just had to have been unbelievable. And not just seeing one, but four GTOs, the D-type seats. I mean, just cars that are just legend to us today. I mean, just getting beaten around, pushed to the limit, and just raised banging fenders and doing everything with it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
doing what they were made to do. Absolutely right.
yeah,
This this car too, I think, had some interesting little tweaks back when it was new. I think under Coombs, when it was being raced under John Coombs, I think there were I don't know, I don't have anything to confirm when or who did it, but there was a third diagonal vent put
yeah.
in the front fenders, probably because they needed to be cooled. I mean, that beautiful drooping snout of this car, I don't think that, it just makes the airflow work better. I would
Yeah.
expect. You've got those
Well,
two rows of louvers.
Yeah, exactly. That's all to do that. I mean, things were hot, and he, subsequent ones, that was the number, I think it's the 12th one built. And I don't know at what point in the production they started doing it, but then the factories added that third slat
That's right.
for the cooling aspect. They didn't go whole hog with the vents on the hood, but I mean, that V12, man, just it's going to generate some heat. But yeah,
Absolutely.
and and you look at that hood going through, and they did each one by one. It wasn't like they had a big stamp, with a die,
Yeah.
do the whole all at once. No, and it's just perfect. And it's just like,
I'm amazed at the quality of work that people could do, of metal work that was a skill. I think, well, I don't know. The restoration field nowadays, the craftsmanship that people have that make show winning rides now for like SEMA or anything like that. I mean, back in the day, to have that level of craftsmanship with an aluminum body like that, that was pretty serious. I think you had to have some tactile sense of what you were doing, even if to louver properly like that. But I mean, some of the guys in California probably would have been inspired by that as well.
oh, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan and just always impressed. I mean, the utmost respect for the builders, metal fab guys, engine build. I mean, everything, but just the metal fab guys, what they can do, because a lot of these guys are utilizing the techniques they did back in the day for authenticity.
Yeah,
so I mean, they're getting
right.
out the wooden bucks and they're banging on the leather mat, and doing what they're supposed to do and how it was, and it's unfortunate. It's kind of going by the wayside, and the younger generation is getting interested. It's getting smaller and smaller, but hopefully, I think it's going to start gaining some momentum, getting some of these kids back, because it's a legitimate career. It's an excellent industry to be involved in, and it just so it's hopefully it's you got McPherson out in Kansas now, 4-year degree, which is awesome, and I know there's a couple other colleges. I think there's one in North Carolina or somewhere too that's getting into having these degrees for it, and it's awesome to see. Because it's not just big. Hey, I'm going to become a diesel mechanic. No, this is a whole different level in regards to what you can do. And in high school, even maybe grade school, kids aren't told this stuff. And I talk to younger all the time. Hey, how do I get into what you do? This and that. I'm like, you always remember to gotta be in that mindset. It's not just about buying and selling. It's or being a race car driver. There's so many different things in this industry that you can do to be part of it and be involved in it. Just find out your strength, what you're passionate about, and figure out a way to get yourself that, whatever it may be, because it's massive, and they're like eyes light up. They're like, oh, really? I didn't think about that. It's like, no, I mean, there's so many different things you could do.
Totally. I think that there's sort of a counter trend that's going on right now, I think, with young people looking to get into working in the automotive space. Used to be back when I was young in the 80s, it was, or are you going to be a body man, or are you going to be a general mechanic, doing mechanical work and stuff like that. And there's so much more to it now that people are realizing. There's, like, again, working, doing the old techniques. I know I'm taking a little bit of a sidetrack, but the traditional techniques and things like that are actually so in demand right now that I think if any young folks are looking outside of the box about a traditional 9 to 5 and they look at this, I think that there's there's definitely a market. There's definitely money in it, and I think there's definitely a pool of capital looking for a place to go to set something up that would add value.
They could write their own ticket. I mean,
Absolutely.
and if they're good at it, especially, I mean, the sky's the limit because the demand is so huge for trying to find good people. I mean, you're going to easily be making six figures,
Oh yeah.
and the crowds you get. I mean, yeah, it's hopefully the tide turns here, in regards to that. And, but it takes, individuals to bring it to their attention. That's the,
Yeah, and get the support
and
they need when they're young and they're looking at things like this. It is possible. Had I kind of joke a little bit. I love what I do, and I'm booked and busy, and I'm grateful. But back in the in the 80s and the 90s, I mean, if I'd been a little bit more determined and just said, there's a market for collector cars. There's a market in dealing in even the history and the cataloging of them, and it's growing. And I kind of saw it. I kind of rubbed shoulders with it a little bit back in the day, but I didn't realize just how much of a market there was even 30 years ago.
yeah,
And how it's continued to grow like it has. And I think a lot of people, some people understood the dynamic of it and other people didn't, and kept it as more of a passion or a side thing. But the ones that dove in head first, I mean, I remember reading car and driver coverage of the Rick Cole auction in 1984 when he sold George Barris's some of George Barris's collection of cars, and I thought, damn, I could really get into that.
yeah.
There's a market for that. Okay, like I eventually, it took me a long time, but I'm finally here, so that's the main thing. As my sort of career aside,
Yeah,
kids don't
took
try
a
this at
long
home.
road, but I got here.
Yeah, if you got a passion and you want to, there's a market. You just have to just stick to it.
Yeah. So let's get into, I guess, I want to say the elephant in this conversation, an elephant
Oh
in the
yeah.
room, so to speak, is valuation. Because that's always, and you get numbers thrown out left and right and all this kind of stuff. And, I've talked to several people and they're like, are they doing the right thing by taking it to the, going to an auction or even, doing it that way because what happened? Because they always keep referencing, Seinfeld's 917, most recently, and that debacle there and everything like that. So, it's kind of going back and forth. And, I think it's brilliant. I mean, you have no better platform doing it, but you have evaluation estimates done up. So
Yeah.
let's walk us through that, what you have.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, but here it is. I've already kind of gone through what the basis, what the mindset, what the whole zeitgeist of where I'm going with this. And this car, well, there's several scenarios. I'm going to just start with just what's on paper here. The median value for a GTO, a 250 GTO in number 2 condition, which is excellent. Okay. There's excellent, and then there's number 1 concours. So I'm using the Haggerty ratings to help inform this. Okay. So my starting point is the median value of a 250 GTO in number 2 condition, just as a baseline. Okay. Now I haven't inspected these cars directly, so I'm going by what their sale results were and what this car represents and what we know about it, which is the whole deal, as far as I'm concerned. This car has been repainted under Jon Shirley, under his care, to its 1962 livery with the Graham Hill number 10 on it. When somebody at that level as a collector has something repainted, it's not going to Earl Scheib's. It's
No.
or Mecum. There's probably an immense amount of prep, avoidance of taking anything out of the car that should remain. That's in earmark originality. So this car is as it was raced, and in beautiful. It looks visually beautiful. They didn't put it on chromed wire wheels. Those were painted wheels, silver painted wheels back in the day. It looks great. And I gave it an uplift of 20% to a number one condition car. So now we're looking at 60, just a tad over 60 million US. The story of the car, because it's so good, I didn't want to overdo it, but we applied a 5% uplift, giving because the story is good, the provenance is great on this car. So now we're up at just a bump over $63 million in immediate value. Now that's not assuming two strongly motivated bidders in the same room together, clubbing each other over the head with millions of dollars and bidding.
My checkbook's bigger.
Oh yeah. I would love to see an actual 2 to 5 people in the room actually bidding, that like are qualified, real bona fide bidders. Their credit line is good, and,
Yeah.
and they're good to go. I mean, I want to see stuff like that. What I respect the fact that there's different modalities for bidding, remotely, online, on the phone, or with an agent. But I really want to hear somebody like yell and scream that they pound their fist.
Yeah,
So
I think Mecum's on board with you with that too.
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't get it.
I agree though.
Yeah, I'm not in this business to not be excited and thrilled.
Yeah, to see someone standing around a phone doing this.
Yeah, I've seen some bidding wars, and I tell you, that's fun. That is really fun to see. But anyway, so I've got we've got an immediate value I'm putting on it of this is, again, it can go higher, it can go lower. What I'm seeing from the data and the considerations I put into this model, 63 million is solid as far as the value. Then there's a time horizon component that I put onto it, where I'm also looking at immediate, which we've covered 63 million, a 1 to 2 year short-term window, because if I cannot see anybody flipping this car in 3 to 12 months. If you've won it and you've bought it, I probably want it. I probably want to like wrap it up in a bow and put it in my house for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stare at it for a year straight.
Yeah. So I'm looking at a progressively higher window as we move through the next 3 time ranges. Short term, 1 to 2 years, I'm thinking it's around 66 million and change. Medium term, 3 to 5 years, we're knocking on 70 million, 69 to 70 million, and long term, 8 to 10 years, 75 million or plus. And
what's that working out like percentage? Like what's how's that? I mean, to me, that looks like a good return in 8 to 10 years. I mean, that's beating markets.
Oh yeah. That's the thing about it. I mean, I want to produce a chart with a variety of hard assets, hard luxury assets versus the collector car market, and have it kind of meaningful as to how everything's compared. But what I can say from memory is there's the Knight Frank Luxury Index, I believe it's called, and that includes collector cars as well as art, cigars, fine whiskeys, and wines. And that, I believe, the Knight Frank Index of those kinds of luxury assets has outperformed financial assets hands down for the last couple of decades.
I agree.
It coincides with stock options, where there's been only 2 instances in the last 27 years whereby company insiders have bought shares in their company as opposed to exercising options to sell those shares of their companies. So there's a lot of liquidity in the market. There's a lot of money floating and I don't know if it has a lot of velocity whereby people are actually spending the money that's floating around in the economy right now. So there's a lot of capital, there's a lot of available money, and it's looking for homes. So you combine that sort of dynamic in the financial markets with luxury, the way luxury markets have performed over the last few decades, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, literally. So I'm looking at the first two subsequent time windows about a 5, if I'm doing my mental math properly, about 5% gain year over year up until after you get into the 8 to 10 year window, and then it's starting to move up a bit. But I'm being kind of conservative. Marcel Massini had made a very informed comment. I believe it was in 2018 he was asked for a soundbite when David McNeil bought his GTO, and he said something like, "Well, I could foresee in the next 5 years $100 million." And you know what? It didn't happen, but it could happen. I think that there's money looking for a home, and looking for a home that is interesting, that will either maintain value or could appreciate. And when you're investing in the highest of the high end market like this, I'd have to say, if anybody's looking for safety, I think it's here and not in bonds and T-bills and municipal bonds. I think
I agree with you. And this is the only thing that you can put your money into that you can go and use and enjoy. I mean, you put your money into real estate, unless it's your vacation home. Okay, you can go stay there. But bills, bonds, it just sit. I mean, you got a piece of paper. What are you going to do with that? Artwork, same thing. You could stare a little bit in your wall, but I mean, what else are you going to do with it?
It's probably going to be in a vault. That's the other thing.
Exactly.
This is tactile. This is something you can actually like touch and see and with proper care, fire it up and
participate in events. You got 35 other people. Well, I say 34 because Bamford's got 2 and that stuff. So you do the math. So that scenario. But I mean, it's just what you get in return of having your money in that is just. I mean,
I think there's so many intangibles that go with owning something like this. And your event eligibility, you get into any event, you damn well please with something like this.
It's a golden ticket.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to turn you away if you show up.
No,
I'd like
to. Even if you show up and you didn't register or whatnot, they're not going to turn you away.
Oh yeah, this is just transcendent on so many levels. It's just amazing. Well, I don't want to overdo the sort of the attributes of the car, but getting back to value, I even kind of look at sort of a recommended reserve kind of idea too. If somebody's questioning what they should have used as a reserve or how they should deal with bringing a car like this to an auction, I can kind of walk through their options and help them with that. If somebody has a GTO and they want to put a reserve on it, I'm calling for about 63 million.
Yeah. I mean, if you're fine with it, because we, as we're discussing this, we keep referencing what you've written up. I mean, we could put this up on the website and obviously on your go and reference it. For the video version of this, we'll have it flash up and you can see exactly what we're referencing, how David was together. And keep in mind that this is just a quick one he put together. I mean, he can go in a lot more deeper and in depth to whatever extent you want in regards to for your car that you're looking at. Because I tell you what, I mean, especially if you're getting into high-end 6-figure or even get your 7-8-figure cars, I mean, this is invaluable in regards to information for what you're putting your money into to make a decision, a decision you're comfortable with. I mean, you're going to have everything you could think of in regards to information-wise to make that correct decision, to know if you should keep bidding higher or maybe, I've maxed out, what have you. But I mean, it just gives you that much more because, information is gold in this situation in regards to, knowing history, provenance, everything, not just about that specific car, but about the model range in general for that specific car. So, I mean, this stuff's fantastic. I can't tell you guys how impressive this is. And you take a look at it, you'll be like, wow. I mean, you're getting into it, and it gives you the arsenal you need in regards to making an informed, proper decision at an auction.
Thank you. To buy a car. That's what I'm going for. Yeah. And the thing is, I was when I was putting Motorcopia together, I pivoted from in the spring from content and cool car content, or I was including from the start ideas about potential values and whether something is an opportunity to buy, or if you need to hold on to it or sell it, depending on your needs. Kind of went from that, the cool car content kind of thing, with some deep dives. And I just went, okay, no, there are people out there that, the number one question I would get as a writer when I'm interviewing an owner about a major car they're selling, then they say, well, David, you've been in the business a long time. What do you think my car's worth? What do you think and I have to say at the time, the disclaimer, I am here to gather the information. I'm here to compile the description. I can't get into that. I would refer you to name at XYZ auction company that you're dealing with. And that's the discussion you need to have directly with them. But this set of tools I've been working on, we can help the owner/seller. We can help the auction house too if they have an opportunity, but they're in a bit of a negotiating war over getting a significant consignment or not, and where they would be comfortable coming in on reserves. That's probably the number one thing I think is a major stumbling block for people participating in the market, is they don't feel comfortable. A lot of sellers think they can do better, that they could have done better. And my goal is that the auction company and the seller and the buyer, I don't want anybody feeling like something got done to them, so to speak, to use poor language, but where everybody's walking into something where they're feeling comfortable with the decisions they're making, and there's less friction doing what they need to get done. And so hopefully this set of tools will help with that kind of idea, and just like I said, less friction, better experience for everybody.
Yeah, you want everyone to walk away happy. I mean, especially in an auction environment, because one, the buyer, you want them to come back again when they're looking for a nice car, or two, when they want to go sell that car, they had a great experience, they're going to come back to you to sell it then at auction. You're not doing it privately, what have you, but
absolutely,
having that all around good experience, because bad taste in your mouth, in this day and age, your pickings are pretty good in regards to where you could potentially go. So, I mean, having everyone pleased with the scenario from start, middle, beginning, and everything is critical.
Absolutely right. And that's, everybody needs to get what they're looking for, in my philosophy of how I look at things. And I don't want to do something whereby somebody feels that their interests have not been respected. And you know what? And auction companies, they're good folks doing good work, they're creating markets. And they're 100% customer service based, they're 100% financial trust basis, and they're 100% involved with making everybody happy. And it's hard to make everybody happy even under the best of circumstances. So I'm hoping, and I love what I do in the market. I enjoy auctions very much now. I haven't been to one in a few years for various reasons. I work mostly from my home office, but I'd like to be able to get out to some of these events again, because they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of electricity in the air. There's a lot at stake, and the best thing, like I said, I want people yelling and screaming when they're making a bid on this. I don't want it quiet. I'd really like to. If it goes,
the energy's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's just feed off it, and I think that's what Dana Mecum has excelled at, and what he has built. Because I think it's great, because he knows, the customer is spending 10, 12 grand, to the customer is spending a few million. I mean, that's, a big, wide breadth there, dollar-wise, but, each person wants to have that same experience and walk away happy, and, and be able to, hey, cater to those people and cater to those. I mean, I think he's nailed it in regards to that, because he makes that person that's getting or selling the $10,000-$12,000 car feel like they're selling the $5-6 million car. I mean, there's no variance in there in regards to how these people are dealt with. And I think they've done an awesome job with it. And I think that's why they're kind of leading the way, I think, out there in the world, in my opinion.
Mecum Auctions has really impressed me, because I remember back around 2012, there was a significant hot rod. There was a 32 Ford Highboy. It was the Tom McMullen Roadster. It's the black 32 Ford that had the blown engine and the the blower sticking out of the hood, not blown, and the flame job on the side. And it was kind of a staple in Hot Rod magazine in the 60s. And I think that man was even like the editor of Hot Rod or somebody, some player in that magazine at one time in the 60s, 70s. And they did a online booklet, I think, for that car and the history was known from day one. Uh, and so I don't know what the car went for, but when I saw the job they were doing to market that one at their huge auctions versus multi-million dollar cars that they were also handling, I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah.
So they understand what the significance of an actual period built vintage hot rod is to car culture, and others do and don't to various degrees. And what they've done is they've managed to bridge very interestingly that value. There's not a value divide. It's like they've organized things to a point where, if you want to be there for the big feature cars that are worth a ton of money, okay, it's fine, Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. But there's something for everybody there. I'd love to go to one of their auctions actually directly and just actually purchase a very nice used Highline car, like an SL 500 or something like that.
Oh yeah, the R129. Yeah, I'm all over those.
or a 560 SL. Before those things are unobtainium. I like that there's accessibility, but there's also the headline marquee stuff, and it's not.
Yeah.
And it's very widespread. There's a nice mix throughout, start to finish, and it keeps it interesting. So I think that's the fun of what we do, though. There's something for everybody. Doesn't matter.
And I think that's helping them become a dominant player in the ultra exotic cars, Lamborghinis, stuff. I think that's really driving that for them.
Yeah.
It's not having these types of cars, at their auctions, sparingly here and there. I mean, Saturday alone, if you tally up all the Ferraris that are going to sell on Saturday alone, it's going to break $100 million total easily.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Bachmann collection, the GTO, what they have, that's going to be an exciting couple of hours there, because there's some Bachmann collection all in a row. There's some unbelievable cars. To your point, being there, I know ourselves, and me and Eric are trying to figure out a way to be there for that, because it's just going to be, I keep calling it, and they might have taken this too, I keep calling it Super Saturday, because it's just going to be, the energies are going to be crazy. And to your point, we get some people in that room battling, it's going to be some good times, very much so. So, and that gives us a nice segue, though, because on your bidder's psychology, you have a nice breakdown to, what obviously we know it's going to be someone that's got some very, very, very deep pockets. And as you always mentioned, high net worth individuals, that seems to be the key word for, these people these days. But, what other mindset would you say this, going to be able to afford, because obviously they're a car enthusiast because they know what they're getting, but what else is kind of coming into play in regards to them, hopefully attempting to buy this car?
Yeah, I think there's, I think if, hopefully I'm hitting the mark on this. I think that there's always a need for what we've already talked about in regard to a vehicle, like a historic vehicle like this, with great provenance and high value. There might be, some more and more, we might see more and more family offices that are actually recommending to their family customers and saying, look, we have generational wealth that's been created and that we've been trying to maintain for you. And we need to backstop that and actually by going out on a limb and purchasing something like this, because like this 250 GTO, because I think there's if a car like that were ever to drop in value, because it is now in the province of fine art, in my opinion, that means the whole economy is dropping.
Yes.
And then it'd be a point where you have something of great value that you can borrow against if necessary, like we said before, or sit on until things turn around. And I think this is sort of a generational wealth play, in my opinion, as one kind of target. And if they're willing to if people like that are willing to step outside step out of the box a little bit. And they may have been doing this already. I mean, I was at one auction a few 7 or 8 years ago, whereby in Scottsdale, where there was a family. They were at another event the night before. They heard there was an auction. 2 cars went unsold, and they just said, "We want this one and we want that one. Where do we go to write it up?" So they were obviously
nice.
yeah. The one was an exceptional Ford GT, a 2005 or 6, and the other one that was for the son. And then the mom and dad wanted a Porsche 911, one of those 1989 Speedsters. And
I'm up for adoption.
Oh yeah. I think I said something like that to them. We had a great time.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
and they ended up buying them, and then having them shipped home. It was really quite amazing. But the people are out there. The problem is for them either knowing what's available and or understanding that it could be something that's actually not a want anymore. It's more of a need. And so something like this, if you're a cultivated collector and you've got the real estate looked after, you've got the investments looked after, and the business is good, then this would be a great place to, as a store of value kind of idea. But there's a lot of psychological triggers for it. I mean, I don't know if anybody really talks about this kind of thing. There's, in terms of some of the things, some of the attributes of this car that we've already talked about, and then you combine that with an auction, it just, there's a sense of urgency in a sense that you could, this is an asset that could, perpetuate your legacy kind of idea. Can you imagine? I don't care whatever anybody says. Somebody could say, I was once the owner of, 3729 GT, Ferrari GTO. I mean, I'm sorry, that to me is like, one of the ultimate things you can say. But anyway, I'm hoping to see, like we said, 2 trophy buyers collide, and they were looking at 60 to 70 million. If there's one dominant bidder, that could, I've seen auctions of interesting or significant items or lots that there's one bid and that's it. And I, that really can be, kind of sad to see. So, I can't, it would be really interesting to see and I'm assuming that the bidding will go on for some period of time. They're not going to just run this through like another, can't hear you.
I hit my button again by accident. This mic I always accidentally hit the button to mute myself.
No problem. That's okay. I sometimes think I need a more sophisticated setup, and then I just plug in my good old plug-in jack headphones, and they work so well.
Yeah.
But anyway, tech aside.
Yeah. So basically concluding this, me and David could probably talk for another 5 hours if we do it, but this is a special car. I mean, Provenance history, to your point, it's never, been wrecked detrimentally. It has a dings here and there, stuff like that. 2 long-term owners. I mean, right there alone just kind of tells you how special this car is. The only one that was made built from the factory in the Bianco Speciale, or for us layman people, one of 8 right-hand cars. I mean, it's just, this is, the creme de la creme for the collector car world. David went into this in great, he can go in farther detail with his report, but what he wrote up here just for this conversation is incredible. But it really breaks it down, tell you how special this car is and the excitement that's going to be that day. Because not just that car, like what's going to be happening prior with the Bachmann collection. So there's going to be several people in that room that I'm hopefully be raising their hand for this. And it's going to be a special half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, how this thing goes across. So it's going to be really cool to see how this plans out. My guess is like around 8, 9 o'clock at night on Saturday, this thing should probably go across, and you're going to have all the excitement from the cars before. That room's going to be packed. So it's going to be exciting stuff. So David, I want to thank you you for coming on. It's always a pleasure. This was awesome. Really getting into this. And
Love it.
everyone said the links for his site and everything like that, it will be in the description. Hit David up if you need something done for a car. And I appreciate it, David. It's been fantastic.
Love it. It's been great to talk with you. And you know, it's an amazing car with an amazing story. But the great thing is we can talk about it, and it's coming to market again. And so it's going to set it's going to set the tone for the future on these types of cars.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun.
I see Eric. Yeah, I see our Eric has come back on to the screen and to wrap things up for us. So again,
Thanks.
And hey, everyone, our guys listening, and doing a multiple part series on this car for Mecum with Mecum. So take a listen to all the other episodes, and really appreciate you guys, and stay tuned for further. And David will definitely be back on further episodes as well. So
Thanks a
appreciate
lot.
it, guys.
Pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.